Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking another look at Matic, and this is a popular request from my community, so thank you very much for the request. I think we got some really good stuff here today, so stay tuned for that. Honestly, we're looking very good with Matic. I'm extremely bullish on this, of course, and you'll see why here in a moment. Before we get started, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. And if you're interested in $25 in Bitcoin, link in the description below. I also have a Signal group moving forward here that is essentially live. So feel free to reference that. That's available through my Patreon account. Might recommend you wait for the 1st of July, just based on the fact that it's a much better value and get more out of it. And that essentially just sends signals to my community members, so those part of my premium Patreon account that are essentially subscribing to that. So just keep that in mind. I take a lot of the time away from your research and do it all for you. So that's hopefully going to be beneficial there. I've had some very good feedback so far, and we've done a lot with it here in the last couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that. That's in the description below. But without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and get right to the video. Let's check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Matic. Now, thanks again to my community for reaching out, asked me to go ahead and cover this. Always appreciate you guys. And that's why I do this here. Do it all for you, right? And before we get started, I always like to look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first, just to get a baseline on the market so we know exactly what's going on and we can kind of see if there's a correlation, etc. Right? So let's take a look at Bitcoin first. So let's go ahead and disable the cloud, go to the 4-hour chart. And this is my favorite chart here for time frames as far as, big picture. We'll just use a 4-hour chart to get perspective because these moving averages, the 50 and the 200, both work most effectively on this chart. So looking at this here, we can see the purple line here, that's the 200, and the 50 is the yellow line here. And they're both working as potential resistance levels right now. So we'll see what happens soon when the price action comes up to test that. But at this point, Bitcoin is hovering right around 33,200. So we shouldn't expect to see them tested right away, but probably in the next couple of days. Okay. Got a major support at 29,000, 30,000. Major resistance at 41,000, 42,000. Okay. That's kind of the state of the nation for Bitcoin. Just a whole lot of sideways action. And unfortunately, this channel is lasting way too long. This is the longest time frame we've seen where it's kind of stuck in this time, right? So unfortunately, we've had it hang out here a lot longer than expected, but that is kind of what's going on. And also something to note too, with this death cross here previously, that did cause the price action to decrease significantly. That's partly the reason why we see the price come all the way down here, just that residual from the death cross. Again, there's probably some fundamentals as well, some little things here and there, but that is the technical aspect of things. All right, let's go ahead and look at Ethereum. Very similar work here from Ethereum. In other words, same sideways pattern, really not much else to note, except for the fact that we do have both moving averages moving above. We'll see what happens in the near future here with Ethereum, but all in all, anything in the 2,000 range for Ethereum is very affordable, so good price to get in if you get the chance. But we shouldn't expect to see much from Ethereum until Bitcoin continues to stabilize and recover. If Bitcoin can get to 42,000 and break and stay above for 24, 48 hours, we're going to see Ethereum take off, right? But we do have a major resistance here at 2,900 that was tested like probably 10 times over the course of that 2-week period. All right, moving on to Matic. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the 1-day chart and then work our way down to the 4-hour, 15-minute, etc. Looking at the 1-day chart, things are looking pretty good here for Matic. In other words, we see this nice turnaround here. Price is over the 200. Yes, it's under the 50-day moving average, but again, when it comes to the moving averages, I prefer to use the actual 4-hour chart. That really tells us it's more efficient in my opinion. 1-day chart is of course helpful because the industry leaders will use that as well, but generally speaking, we got a little ways before we need to worry about the 50-day moving average. That's up at $1.47, $1.50 range. RSI is nice and low. MACD is still working its way down, so we don't really have any indications of a buy signal or a long-term swing trade on the chart right now, as is. All right, looking at the 4-hour chart, quickly note here, we can see the 4-hour chart really just tells us almost the same thing. We got price action underneath the 50 and the 200-day moving average. RSI is still low. We did have a swing upwards here for the MACD, which is typically a buy signal, but that did since taper off. So not really much to understand here for Matic, except for the fact that there's not really a lot of buy signals so far for any long positions, but I can tell you fundamentally, or just correction, probably not fundamentally, but the actual true range of this coin is definitely much higher than it's at right now. So I mean, really, we should probably expect to see the price action somewhere in the $1.50 to $2 range, and right now it's $1.15. So even though we don't have a lot of indications of buy signals right now on the 1 day and the 4-hour chart, big picture, I do feel like the price action should be much higher. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. And let's see here. So looking at the, let's go ahead and pull this up here. Let's look at the 1-hour chart. And looking at the 1-hour chart here, let's go ahead and take a look at Ishimoku Cloud now. All right, and we'll go and turn off the moving averages. And just something I want to note here, the Ishimoku Cloud, when the price is in the cloud, right in this range here, there's not really much we can do. In other words, you don't want to buy when the price is in the cloud. You want to buy when it's above or below. In other words, in this scenario here, you'd probably want to do a short. You'd want to short when the price action comes below, right? When the price action comes above, hypothetically here in the next couple of hours, then that would be probably a buy signal, right? So we're coming up on a buy signal here soon for Matic. So pay attention to that. Again, the 1-hour chart is the most effective for Ishimoku, and that's available right here. Okay, so we're expecting to see something soon. So I would say a long position for Matic here in the near future would be ideal, because we should expect to see a recovery. Again, it really depends on how Bitcoin is performing, of course, because if Bitcoin sells off down to 30 or 29,000, then we're probably not going to see any type of action in that direction for Matic. But if we can get some sideways action from Bitcoin for just say 24, 48 hours, then I think Matic will come back up here and jump back up to somewhere in the 135, 145 range. We should expect to see that soon. So that'd be my prediction, I guess you could say, based on just that information alone. Now let's take a look at EMA and VWAP. All right. So according to the VWAP line here, that's this blue line here. That's basically the volume weighted average price. That's telling us the volume in the last 24 hours expressed as a price at $1.17. The price is below that right now, so that's working as a resistance level. However, the EMA line is currently projecting that we're working as a support. In other words, the EMA line is this red line here. When the price action is above, it's considered bullish. When it's below, it's considered bearish. So we saw this bearish trend here, and now it jumps above, and it's potentially bullish. Now, it's going to possibly come down and test. So if it can bounce off this EMA line and continue upwards, we should be in pretty good shape. But as we can see, and I left this here on purpose, this is a line for the Ishimoku Cloud. So here in the next couple of hours, if we can get the price to break above the VWAP line and to stay above EMA, we're going to be in a very, very good shape to take entry. So I'd highly recommend considering taking entry soon if we get those type of confirmations that we're looking for. All right, so those are things I like to pay attention to in this scenario here. But yeah, generally speaking, Matic is, all in all, pretty darn good shape here as far as affordability is concerned. I think the price should be much higher, and I do foresee it coming up a lot more, a lot sooner, especially if Bitcoin can come up to just say 36, 37,000. Because even though Bitcoin has a resistance of 41 and 42,000, there is a kind of a mid zone there, right around 36,500. That is going to be a potential rejection point, because that's been a previous high for a lot of this channel here. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you right now. Let's go back to Bitcoin. I'll show you to remind me of that. So looking here, we've got it right about 37,000. You can see this line here. I'll go ahead and mark it. This line basically tells us it's been tested multiple times in the past. And this is another potential resistance level. Okay, so again, if Bitcoin can come up here and get closer to about 36, 37,000 range, then I have no doubt that Matic will come back up to the range of about $1.70, between $1.50 and $1.70. Okay, so again, we get some sideways action from Bitcoin. It stays between 33 and 37. Matic will take off and recover because it's done very well in the past when Bitcoin does poorly. So it's usually a coin that we can rely on. Both ADA and Matic are two reliable coins that do very well, just like Ethereum used to when Bitcoin goes sideways. So we should expect to see that soon. So that's my anticipation there for this. I hope you did find benefit from this, of course. Please consider liking and subscribing, and we'll look forward to seeing the next video. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.